everyone, welcome to The First Step, a talk show about having the hard conversations. We're going to be talking about the Black community today, and I have with me, you guys want to introduce yourselves?
Hello, I'm Kameron, I'm 12th grade.
I'm Gabbi, and I'm also in 12th grade.
And then before we get kicked off, I just want to read something from the nonprofit that we're partnering with, which is the Virginia Center for Inclusive Communities. The Virginia Center for Inclusive Communities is an 86-year-old organization that started in Lynchburg, Virginia as the Virginia region of the National Conference of Christian and Jews in a grassroots efforts to address community concerns related to anti-Catholicism, I think that's how you say that, anti-Semitism, and anti-Protestantism, community members took part in interfaith dialogues across Virginia. Over time, conversations grew to include other aspects of social identities like race, ethnicity, gender, sexual orientation, class, and ability status. Today, VCIC is an independent nonprofit that works with schools and businesses and communities to achieve success through inclusion. The VCIC hosts programs year-round for students, and including one-day forums like the Diversity Dialogue Day and the Prejudice Awareness Summit and a week-long summer retreat called Connections. If you'd like to find out more, you can follow VCIC on all their social media. They're on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, which are linked in our website. So, and before we get started with the questions, I just want to make sure that we're clear about the idea that while Gabbi and Kameron are very knowledgeable about what we're going to talk about, it's always important to remember that while their individual experiences are always valid and should be respected, they do not always represent the entire community. So if Gabbi or Kameron says something about one of their experiences, take it with respect, but also remember that this conversation that we're having today is, not to be cliche, but it is the first step, and therefore we should be focusing on learning more, and you should have conversations with those members in your life who are a part of different communities. So without further ado, you guys get ready to answer some questions?
Yep. Yes.
Okay. So the first question that I have here, and by the way, if I read anything and it sounds odd or the grammar's off, I'm reading it directly off the paper. Do not blame me if the grammar is off, it's the person who submitted the question. But for the first question, how have famous/historical Black figures influenced people's perceptions on Blacks?
Well, I think we can just kind of start off by saying, I guess it's kind of different on who you think of. Like, there are many different famous Black historical figures out there, and I guess just depending on who directly you think of, I mean, it's always great to see people like, obviously, Barack Obama, Michelle Obama, other famous Black people, and to see them do so well, it obviously helps us just kind of be inspired, but I mean, it's really different for everyone.
Yeah, kind of just to go off what Kameron said, I think it like depends on who you think about. Like, some people are going to think of like Michelle Obama, like Barack Obama, like Oprah. Others are going to think of like Beyonce, like Cardi B, that kind of thing. So obviously, depending on like who you think of, they're going to fit like a different stereotype. So yeah, I think that just depends.
Do you think that when, like, going based off what you guys said, do you feel like when people, like when you have a Black individual do very well for themselves and they're very successful, that's great and everything, but do you feel like if, for example, there's a Black individual who, maybe they're a horrible individual and it's not tied to them being Black, they're just not a good person, do you think people take the fact that they're Black and use it to like put down the Black community?
In a way, yeah. They can definitely like, I guess, weaponize it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's a good word. Yeah. Okay, next question that we have is, this is a long one, okay. So do you believe that it is okay for white people to have weave/wear clothes that are generally deemed, and in quotes, Black people clothes, for lack of better terms? Some people might deem it inappropriate, but others say it's creating a divide between the white community and the Black community.
I think that just kind of like ties into like culture appropriation. Like, for one thing, like people's like hairstyles that have to do with like the Black community, or like that more like Black people like use or like wear, is a lot different than like clothing wise. I think that with clothing, it just kind of like, I mean, obviously there are a lot of clothes, whether it's like acrylic nails or like hoop earrings and like Jordans and all that kind of thing, that people used to like, or white people or anyone that wasn't Black used to make fun of us like back in the day. So the fact that like they're wearing it now, it's kind of just like ironic and kind of funny to think about. But like, we're not like gatekeeping clothes or anything like that. I think it's just kind of like ideally like, oh, I hope they know that like, at least like respect, I guess, towards like what our style was. And now it's like, I don't know how to word it, but
Oh, yeah.
It's just kind of funny, I guess.
Yeah, and just kind of going off of that, a lot of the things like certain hairstyles and other things were used to kind of benefit Black people to kind of make it easier for them, like for their hair and clothing. So I guess just when it comes to the point where that was, like Gabby said, kind of made fun of or deemed unprofessional, or like wearing baggier clothes was kind of deemed thug attire or stuff like that. And so kind of seeing that now come into light without really understanding the appreciation of it or where it kind of came from or what it was once deemed is just kind of where it gets a little, where the divide comes in, I feel like. But like I said, there's no way gatekeeping, like it, at the end of the day, clothes are clothes, but it did kind of come from a deeper meaning.
Yeah.
So people should be like conscious of the fact that like you guys used to get crap for it,
Oh,
and now it's
yeah,
like,
yeah,
oh,
for sure.
streetwear.
Right.
It's
Exactly.
what's in.
Right.
Like,
Right.
no, yeah. Okay.
And also like with like hairstyles and that kind of thing, like I hate to say this, but like some people like some styles like aren't meant for your hair type. Like, you know, if you have like bone straight hair, like probably box braids just like aren't the best for it. So like you may look like kind of stupid like doing that, you know? But like if you like say like you're white and you have like really curly hair, like 4C or not 4C, like 4A or whatever, like, you know, wear a bonnet, like, you know, like do what you need to do to like take care of your hair, but like also like be respectful, and like if you don't know something, like ask a question, like ask somebody about it, because the last thing you want to do is just like be out here looking dumb, doing things, and like people aren't always going to respect you. But
No, but when you say like 4C, what do you?
Okay, so there's like different hair types and hair textures,
Uh-huh.
and like it's a lot of debate about like that whole scale to begin with. But like some, it's like basically like your hair is straight or like different types of like curly hair. So like some people's hair is gonna be like a lot more kinkier. That's like 4C, and like 4A, it's like still curly but looser. But depending on what your hair type is, you're gonna have to like take care of it differently.
Oh, okay.
So like despite whether you're black, white, or whatever it is, you need to like do what you need to do for your hair.
Oh, so it's like a range, and then it's kind of
Right.
like, oh, if your
Yeah,
hair looks
kind
like
of
this,
like-
you're kind of.
Straight to wavy to loose curls to
It's like
like
tight curls.
Okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I was like, wait. I was like, wait, I missed something. Okay. All right, next question is, what has your relationship with colorism in the community been like? And then before you guys answer that, can you define colorism for me?
Sure. So colorism is basically, I don't know the exact meaning, but it's just when people within the Black community kind of, or even outside of it, just kind of base people off of the skin tone. So basically, you know, I don't really know how, we talked about it in our African American class, so you can help me with just the definition, but
rub you with her.
it's kind of hard for like
Black
a
urban
specific
terror.
like
Yeah.
definition like off the top of my head, but like basically like discriminating against someone because like they can still be black but based off like their skin tone. So like a lot of people are gonna like favor, okay, just like in general, like in social, in our world now, a lot of people, they're gonna like discriminate or just like favor like light skins over dark skins. Like a lot of people like in the Black community, they'll say like, oh my god, like I would never like date like a dark skin, da 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 da. And like we're getting better at that like as we get older, but definitely, you know, like freshman, like sophomore year, like that's all it is. Like, oh, like I want like a light skin with like curly hair, like that kind of thing. And I guess it kind of sucks sometimes because it's like, I mean, we're all black, you know? So it's like no one's like better than somebody else because like they're lighter or like darker or that kind of thing. I think it also kind of ties into like white is right. Not to like say that, but like
But to say that.
no, but like but also like how like the lighter your skin is, the better you are. Kind of like how back then it was like the lighter you were, the better you were. So
Do you think that this not ideal, but like this idea of like, oh, the lighter skin you are, that stems from like the fact that like,
yeah, absolutely. Because just back in the day, like usually when there was still a lot of discrimination against Black people, period, usually the lighter skinned Black people would be kind of treated differently than the darker skinned one. Differently meaning better because they had white in them.
Right.
So that just kind of stems through kind of lighter skinned Black men back in the day wanted to be with white women to kind of level that out, or, you know, even just that kind of wanted to be just a way to kind of get their social status up would be to be more with white people. But I really want to look up like the exact definition of colorism. I wish I had that. But yeah.
okay. Let's see, the next question. Does it bother you when Black people say the N-word in a friendly/greeting way to other Black people?
personally, no, because like it's a black person saying it. But obviously, you know, if like it was a white person like coming up to me and being like, "Hey," I would be like, "Whoa,
Whoa,
you
yeah.
just can't, like, you should not be saying that word." So I don't really have an issue with it now.
No, I agree. I mean, it's just kind of, I mean, obviously there's a lot of history behind that word, but honestly, if I hear somebody just greeting a black person specifically, then I don't necessarily feel, I don't personally use the word that often, or at all really, but it doesn't.
Would you be willing to expand on like why you personally don't use the word?
It's just kind of not really
Should
how
know
I
how
would
you're-
like. Yeah, it's just not really how I would like to greet my friends. I mean, I understand that the word was used in a negative way, and I just kind of preferably just don't really refer to my friends that way. So
That's fair.
there's nothing wrong with it.
Okay, so this is the longer question that we've got here. So it says, do you believe that some books, and then in parentheses it says, that are not solely meant for educational purposes, such as history books or nonfiction, should be reprinted so that certain language, such as the N-word, is not included? I'm specifically thinking about times in which the word is used in an obviously derogatory way, cough, like in All the King's Men, cough, which, for those of you who aren't taking AP Lit, there is a book that we're reading called All the King's Men, and I think it's like on the first page, it just like says the N-word, and then not only is the author white, but the narrator is also white. So it's just kind of like there, and we're all like, oh, word, okay.
Well, to answer the question, I don't necessarily feel like it needs to be reprinted based on the context of the book. Like, I mean, this is very popular, but To Kill a Mockingbird, like, I know that the author is white, and I'm pretty sure the narrator is white as well. But I think just as long as you know the context, because in that book, you know, there's a lot of learning points and a lot of talking about the time period that they were in at the time. And so that word, which was used very often, it's kind of necessary to be able to read it and kind of understand as to why it's something that is not necessarily deemed okay to say today.
I think trying to like take it out of the book just like takes away like the whole like purpose of like certain books, you know. And then also like Cameron was saying, I think it's really based off of like the time period when the book was made, or like the time period that the like the plot of the book is like in. Obviously, you know, like if you're reading it out loud and like you know you shouldn't be saying the N-word, like skip over it, like that kind of thing. But I don't think that we should like take time to like reprint books just because they say it, just to like almost like shield readers from that word, because like the word's real. So
What is it? This is not on here, this is a personal question, but I think I was reading an article or something about a white actor who like, because we have like historical pieces, like in, what is it? The one that comes to mind automatically is 42, which had Chadwick Boseman, bless his heart. But he, you know, it's the Jackie Robinson film, and in it we have white actors like saying the N-word, and it's just kind of like, do you think it's, like, do you guys have the same kind of view on it when it's an actor saying it in a like historical film versus like having it printed?
I mean, I think it similarly goes hand in hand. I mean, I know if I watch a movie and I see, you know, a white actor say it, I'm like, But if you think about right, but if you think about it, like that's exactly how it would happen, and I feel like it's important for people to see, you know, and maybe feel that a little bit, like feel that little disappointment or anger once they hear it, you know, on a movie or on a show. Like I feel like that's kind of an important piece of growing as a society. But at the same time, in that context, I feel like it doesn't necessarily need to be reprinted, but in other ways, I think maybe we could use other words.
Yeah, no, that's
I also think like, I mean, similar to like the book with like it being printed and also being said, I also don't think we should like tie like the white actor like saying it like, oh my god, they're a bad person because they said this like in the film. Like, I mean, they're getting paid, like this is their job, so like they're gonna have to do what they have to do to like, you know, get their money. But
respect the hustle.
Yeah.
But it's also like
but also like I would hope that the actor isn't like saying it like 15 times in like 15 minutes in like the film, you know. So, but that's kind of just like, that's not the actor's fault. That's like the writer.
I feel like that's just a very awkward position.
It is.
Like I feel like if I was like an actor, I'd be like,
But I would just hope that they understand if they, you know, feel maybe not, just have the conversation within the other actors in the movie, just to kind of make sure that everyone's on the same page and it's for work, so.
and then what is it? we have 2 more questions. So the next one is, have you experienced racism in the center, being the Leadership and International Center at James River at large? How has that shaped your view of the center and the school? And you guys feel free to, leave out names. You don't have to go too much into detail.
Personally, off like the top of my head, I don't think I've experienced anything like personally like to my face or anything like that. Because if I did, I think I would like remember it, But other than but like in the center, not that I can think of off the top of my head. And then with like, I guess like the school at large, like nothing directly to my face, like I said. I think obviously like, with our school being so big, we're gonna like obviously hear people saying the N-word that probably shouldn't say it, and like people being racist that probably shouldn't be racist at all. But we can't really do anything about it, Like I'm not gonna go around here and police everybody that's like doing the wrong thing, because like that's exhausting. But nothing like directly.
Yeah, I can say the same, nothing to my face. And honestly, in the center, I felt a lot of, support and inclusion just with the people who have been with me from freshman year. Like I've always felt so loved, and I always had friends. Like I had Black friends, and then I had, white friends, and I just felt like it was a really tight-knit community. So I've never felt any type of racism within the center. But just like Gabby said, being in a school, hearing white people say the N-word, just, in the lunch line, I'm like, oh,
You get really right in front of myself.
Right.
We were just trying to get lunch.
Exactly. But, it's not to my face or, so to answer that question, have I felt it directly? No. Which I'm incredibly grateful and blessed for, because I know not many people can say the same.
And like luckily I also think like with at least our grade, like 12th grade for like leadership, I think a lot of us are like very like-minded, if that makes sense.
Oh, for sure.
So I think a lot of us have like the same views, so like we don't directly experience, those type of issues.
Right.
But I think if I was in like, I don't know, a different grade level, like it could be a totally different case. So
All of us are mostly like, we've kind of matured.
Definitely.
Yeah, I feel like there's some maturing throughout the years of
But
high school.
I was just saying, like, even just from freshman year, like, I felt like we all kept it very professional and very mature, even as freshmen, but yeah.
Alrighty, and then the last question that we have is, what is the best way that a non-Black person can show support and solidarity with you guys?
I personally love this question. I just feel like
this is a good question.
I know, I just feel like
Everyone should kind of be wondering that. I mean, just kind of with the certain times that are going on right now. But to answer that question, I really personally think that, as cliche this might sound, but honestly, just kind of educating yourself as to why there's a lot of anger and a lot of divide and disagreements on certain topics. I just kind of feel like that's very important. And then also, if you experience somebody being racist to you, even though you might not be a person of color, but just kind of, if you know it's wrong, just kind of say something and speak up and call them out. Like I feel like people kind of tend to be a little bit afraid of the confrontation, but honestly, we don't need people to go come up to us and be like, I support you, and
Bless your heart, we support you so much.
Like during like the Black,
like when like the George Floyd thing happened one year ago, I think a lot of people like on TikTok, they were like overdoing it with like the I support you, and I'm just like, you don't have to do all of that, like it's very much like bare minimum, if you just aren't racist, if you're not ignorant, like then you're good, like we're gonna respect you as well, like because you're respecting us. And then also what Kameron was saying, how like if you see someone do something that like is racist or like is just like wrong, you can just tell them, like if you're in the lunch line and someone behind you says N-word, they probably shouldn't just be like, hey, don't say that, and just continue on with your day. Like you don't have to go around like seeking people that are doing wrong things, that kind of thing. But definitely just like if you can, like call people out, because it's not right. Like we shouldn't be doing that.
So like, don't be racist, and if you see other people being racist, tell them to knock it off.
It's really that simple. There's nothing really more. That's where I definitely feel like after what happened a couple summers ago, we all were kind of able to see a whole new perspective, and I feel like collectively people, had a change of heart, which is amazing. I definitely feel like there's been a big shift in society around that, but racism still exists everywhere, so just call it as you see it.
Fair enough.
Yeah, and also like as you're like educating yourself and as you're just like, I guess being more aware and how do I word this? I mean, well, just like as you're educating yourself, don't think that you're better than somebody else because they're not educated. Like
Right.
you know, like they just may have not grown up in that household. That's very like.
Right.
It's also a lot of stuff is like based off your parents, you know, so like they just may not know things and like they're just ignorant. So just educate that person, just like help them out because they might not know like what's wrong versus what's right.
Well, those are all the questions that we have. Thank you guys for coming on. This was really cool. Actually, I really enjoyed this. I feel like that last question we should like have at the end of each like episode for the different communities. I feel like it's really important for providing like the next step after the episode airs and everything. But yeah, thank you guys.
I like that you saved it for last.
Of course, yeah, I like you should. That's why I was like, oh, we're gonna pull that down to the bottom.
Yes.
But yeah, all right. Thank you guys for coming on the show. Yeah, alrighty guys. Well, that's the first episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I think the next episode that we're going to be having is on the Asian community, and as an Asian person, I'm quite excited. But yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Remember to be kind to each other, and we're out.